Welcome everyone, I'm Richard Fredrickson, and I want to apologize up front before I introduce the mayor to you. I have a little bit of a laryngitis, so just get a little closer to your TV set and you'll hear me. Mayor, it's good to see you again.
Hi Dick, how you doing?
We have the quarterly report coming your way. I have the privilege of asking a few questions, but before I forget it, toward the end of the show, we would ask you to give some season greetings to the folks out there, because when this show is on, we will be just a few days before Christmas. We should be on somewhere the week of the 20th, in there someplace, I believe. So, it's cold outside. And it was chilly, but it wasn't bad at all. I introduced you on the 25th of November for the 12th annual, I think it was the 12th, annual Light Up a Holiday Parade. Did you enjoy your parade?
Yeah, we had a great time. The weather was beautiful,
yeah.
Unseasonably warm, but it's a lot of fun. My family really enjoys that parade.
Yeah. Who was that cute little girl who lit the tree?
Madison is my stepdaughter.
Yeah.
So she wanted to do it.
Yeah, she was chopping at the bit.
Yeah. She was firing up.
Tree. I never stayed around long enough to watch the actual lighting of the tree. I'm jumping ahead to go to the truck to broadcast the parade. I didn't realize it was this big lever. I thought it was a little button that they touched. Right. So she looked at it and said, how's this going to happen? So it was fun. It was a great parade. We had good attendance, fantastic crowd, probably the most enthusiastic crowd that I've seen in 12 years.
Yeah,
they were having a lot of fun,
It was a good time. Great job.
Yeah, so as long as we're downtown, let's talk a little bit about downtown Joliet. And yes, we'll go out to the neighborhoods and we'll go out to Hobart Road and a few other places as well. We had a really nice party, I guess it would be called, a celebration, on a move from First Midwest Bank just a few weeks ago. You were there?
I was there.
And just a good turnout of folks. And John Bays did a great job with that first floor. I didn't get to the second floor, but that first floor is beautiful.
It's incredible what they did with the building. John continues to be one of the big investors downtown and does a great job. John and Jessica. And then also, I think First Midwest Bank should be thanked for their commitment to downtown and staying down here working to find a location that's good for everyone.
Yeah, it's a beautiful building.
Yes.
Thank you for, being loyal and staying in downtown. It has, someday I'll get the CEO, and Jim Rolfe down here and talk about the history of that bank, because it is an interesting history, because it goes way back, and there's lots of relationship with the founders of that bank and how they assisted Joliet back in the days of some real challenging days. So make me fulfill that promise, would you? Okay. Downtown Joliet. Commend the street department, by the way, on great snow plowing back on the first big snow. You remember when they said it'd be 1 to 3 inches and we get like, what, 9 inches of snow? Did a great job all over Joliet, but particularly in downtown. And I don't know if I'm the only one who noticed this, but I think it's the first time the sidewalks have been plowed.
Yeah, they really did a great job. I think we're a little lucky that it happened on a Sunday because there weren't as many cars out. But really should commend the street department and Mike Ulitz and Jim Trisna. One of the things that we've kind of hammered on the last couple of years was don't wait till there's a couple inches of snow on the ground to get the plows out there. If we know it's coming, let's have them ready to go. And they did that. The plows were out about 10:30 on Sunday morning. And I think they plowed to about 2 or 3 in the morning, I guess Monday morning. Yeah. So that's the group of people worked really hard to get it done, but they did a fantastic job.
That's all city people. They're not subcontracted out, are
Yeah,
they?
Not for this one. Sometimes we've had to do it because our city plows are still working on the main streets where they can't get the cul-de-sacs or downtown. But they were ahead of the game. They did a great job, and we were able to do that all city workers.
So kudos to those folks. And keep up the job. keep it up. Always want to ask you about Union Station. Where are we at with that? We have a little update on that?
Nothing more than the groundbreaking we did probably about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and they are beginning construction. So it was a long delay, but I'm glad that the state came through with the funding that has been promised. So we are moving forward. I guess it's a new train station. With Union Station, the brew pub is going to open, I believe, early next year, February, March, I think they're slated to open next year. And then the city has entered into a contract for the catering that's going to happen upstairs with the people from Mistwood Golf Course in Romeoville.
Yeah,
So,
McWethy's.
McWethy's, yeah. I think a lot of excitement with them coming into Joliet, too. So Union Station's wrapping up, and of course, we're all anticipating the new train station and the permanent structures that are going to be built to make it a lot easier for all the commuters who use the train every day.
Are we ready for Joliet Junior College to open up in January?
Well, it's a work in progress. I'm excited about it. I know the College of St. Francis has reported that the downtown campus has been a real hit amongst their students. They've actually talked to the college. They want to expand their footprint downtown. So I would imagine the same reaction from Joliet Junior College. I think it's a great step forward. As far as the downtown plan that obviously you've been a part of on the City Center Partnership, I think we all agree that getting young people into the area is going to help downtown revitalize it and help with the businesses, with the bars, with the restaurants. I think all the local establishments are really excited to see another infusion of young people coming into downtown.
It is interesting, Mayor, that the millennials seem to have a real attraction toward the urban setting, and they don't look at these old buildings. They love the architecture, and they love the urban setting. And really, where are you going to go in Will County, outside of Chicago, to really have a real downtown? A lot of suburbs have FAUX downtown,
Right.
And not that that's bad, but I'm saying that Joliet has a real downtown. One more thing about John Bay's, I just forgot that I drove by the other day and he's got tarps up, so that the Catholic Charity Building. Any idea what he's up to there?
Yeah, he's told me a couple of ideas. I'm not sure if contracts have been signed with anybody yet, but he was thinking big, and it was exciting. Some of the people he was talking about having come in. There's other buildings that have been sold recently or being renovated, so there really seems to be a synergy downtown. I know since I've been in Joliet, there's always been talk about revitalizing downtown. But I really think it's happening as we speak. I know the city council is excited about some of the different plans that have come in downtown.
The name will come to me in a minute. I know Mike Petrie.
Petrie.
I think it's official now that he's purchased the Barber Building. Or
It is
still pending?
No, it's official. And apparently, and I didn't know this. I don't think too many people knew that was a Frank Lloyd Wright building. I'm not sure if Mr. Petrie knew that when he bought it. So there's some work going on the inside trying to restore what's been there, what was covered up over the years.
Yeah, there's some, I think there's a different name, a famous name, Burnham, I think is the guy.
Daniel Burnham, you're correct,
Burnham.
yeah. Sorry about that.
But I also discovered that behind that, the original building was done by some other architect. And then they put a building around that building is Burnham's building. So it's a lot of history in Joliet.
There is, and I think they're actually seeing if they can restore the original building. So I know they're very excited about what.
Well, I was in there one time many years ago, and the hardwood floors, the cabinetry, the old type offices. It's a trip back into the yesteryear, and I think he's going to put apartments or condos or something up there, and then some kind of retail on the first floor.
Exactly, yes.
Hopefully he can do all of that.
Yeah.
The ballpark, we have the Slammers coming back next year.
Slammers are coming back, and we're having the All-Star game, which should be a nice announcement, a nice weekend for Joliet. And then also, as you know, we kept the IHSA tournament, which I think we were happy. I think there was some thought that after being here so many years that they may relocate, but we're really happy that they made another commitment to stay in Joliet. That's always a fun weekend to get all the high school teams.
Bring lots of people in.
Right.
I think they made a commitment for more than 1 year.
I believe it was a 4-year commitment.
Is it?
I believe.
That's great. That's great. Things going on in Joliet, and this summer was challenging with lots of street renovation and lines being put in, et cetera. And they're going to be doing some of those things in Ottawa, I think, spring and summer. Let me open the door because it's in the newspaper and the people opinion pages, and you have I can't go through the foundation, the WMCA. I don't know what it is. Will County something, right?
Will County Metropolitan Exposition and Auditorium Authority.
See, that's why he's mayor, and I'm just a guy.
Is that why?
That authority, and the Rialto Board, and the City of Joliet, and the Rialto, And there's no denying that the Rialto is a real anchor in downtown Joliet. It impacts the businesses, the restaurants, the bars, the gallery, the museum, the library. 25,000 tourists come in on an annual basis that we know of into Joliet through that Route 66 Avenue. Any clarifications, anything we can look at? I guess there's my guess, a short-term fix, and then there's the vision of a long-term fix. Because not every one of you are privy to, maybe none of us are, but there's different levels of debt that is involved with the Rialto Theater and different levels of challenges. But now I've spoken enough with my laryngitis. Mayor, tell us about the Rialto Theater.
There's a lot to say. And, maybe by the time this airs, because it's very fluid what's happening, maybe there'll be some solution. I think you characterized it well, though, when you talked about short-term solutions and long-term solutions. From our position with the city, this became a crisis last March, February, March, when we learned through the theater, they came forward and said that they had not paid their payroll, federal state payroll taxes for several months at that point. And they were looking at a $110,000 bill that needed to be paid, and the fines increase significantly if you don't pay your taxes. So the city stepped in, forwarded the money, and paid the $110,000 to pay that bill. I think we know some of the history of what happened within the theater. Some people were let go and there were changes made. About maybe a month later, maybe less, there were two shows that had been booked at the theater and had been sold out. Both shows were sold out. Tickets had been sold. The performers or the agents or whomever read about the theater's problems, contacted the city of Joliet directly and said that we had if the money wasn't fronted for the artists, they were not going to perform. They were going to pull out because they felt they were going to get stiffed and wouldn't get paid. The theater didn't have the money, although they had sold 4,000 tickets. That money had been spent already, and they had no money left to forward the money or pay the artists. So the city of Joliet, for a second time, stepped in, paid approximately $300,000 to save those two shows, but more importantly, it saved the theater. I do believe if those shows pulled out and 4,000 people who bought tickets had gotten burned, that would have been the end of the Rialto. So it wasn't something that I was very comfortable doing. I don't think the city council was comfortable, but really felt like our backs were against the wall, and we had to step in and do something to help the theater. But we made it clear at that point that the nonstop funding was coming to an end. There were things that we asked the theater to do. They have not cooperated. So I thought our position, we made pretty clear back in April or May that this is it. And personally, I was looking at more of a long-term solution. I knew, I had an idea what the debt is there. It's not really clear because we haven't been knee-deep in this, but there's several $1 million of debt, and I was more interested, instead of just putting a Band-Aid on the problem, let's get to the bottom of what the theater really needs, and then let's make a decision, an informed decision, of whether the city's going to commit these resources, or if we can find them someplace else, or what's the future of the theater going to be. And that's been my position. It continues to be my position. I really don't want, I'm not going to put a Band-Aid on it. There are financial struggles there, and either we have to find a solution to the struggles, or we have to make some hard decisions about what's going to happen.
The short term, and I don't know what's been planned, but excuse me, there probably are weddings that have been scheduled, I'm guessing, for early spring or late winter of 2017. I was watching WTTW Channel 11 over the weekend, and one of the packages, you give them $150 and they give you some kind of premium. Well, I was surprised to see that one of the premiums was tickets to Rocketopia or something like that was going to be appearing on June 17th at the Rialto Theater. Now, I don't even know if the Rialto was aware of that, but I did talk to and they weren't aware of it, that they had gone ahead and done that.
Right.
But there are shows that are being planned and people expectations of that Rialto, short term being, open, and then long-term being fixed. So it's, I'm glad I'm the guy asking the questions and not the people who have to make these decisions, because these are tough decisions. People love the Rialto. It is an anchor. It's an economic driver for downtown, not only downtown, but the whole area really will be impacted by if that theater short-term goes dark. So stay tuned. This show will be on prior to the 20th, but it'll run through the 20th. So some decision might be made either in or on the, that's budget day, isn't it, 20th?
The 20th, we'll have to vote on the budget. If I could just say one thing to clarify kind of where things are at now. The theater was asking for $500,000 for next year. One of the issues we have at the city is that, as far as we know, there's a $2.5 million loan which will be due on January 1st. We've been told that that's going to be rolled over. But the theater also owes about $675,000 in unpaid bills, including utility bills. The $500,000 that's being requested for next year is not allocated to pay any of the bills. The $500,000 that they want for next year is to cover the losses that are projected for next year. So it is a difficult position to be in. I know no one on the council wants to say no and hurt the theater. On the other hand, we have a duty to the people of Joliet, and to spend $500,000 and not have any real idea what we're going to get on the other side of it is unacceptable. So I think whatever we do, I think the city needs to become, whether the board wants it or not, the city has to become more involved and more accountable for what's happening with the almost the $18 million that we've sent to the theater over the years.
Yeah. Well, Jim Hawk, toward the end of the last city council meeting, mentioned a plan or a possibility or a concept that the city would take over ownership of the Rialto Theater in the future. And Senator McGuire, I think, addressed that in the newspaper, saying that it would be, that's not something that would be done overnight. It's a process, and get all those legislators to agree. Because there's, what is there, like 6 or 7 different theaters that are in that group of Rust Belt cities that are? There
was a state statute created, I think, in the early 1980s that established that board, the Will County Board, and it's done all over the state for different theaters or theater districts in the state of Illinois. So yeah, it isn't clear to us exactly what would need to be done. The legislation needs to be changed. I don't know if the change needs to affect all 8 theaters, or if it could just be specific to the Rialto here in Joliet.
Okay, stay tuned. Here's something that will make the transition to, and that's the Hobart Road Bridge. Tell me about that, and the property that I forgot to buy 10 years ago in that corner.
Well, the project's moving forward. As you know, Governor Rauner was in Joliet in July and held a press conference. We're excited that, obviously this is something that I think has been identified for a while that needed to be done in Joliet. I don't believe for a second it's going to solve the problem with the trucks that we have, the truck traffic, but I think it'll be a big step towards moving in the right direction. We need to do whatever we can to relieve the congestion on Route 53 that happens every day. As you know, I-80 backs up every single day with trucks getting on and off at Route 53. The infrastructure for the city was not built to accommodate the traffic that we have coming in every day. So I think the Hobart Road Bridge will be a step in that direction. There's other things that we'd like to see done and we continue to work on, specifically widening I-80 and I-55. But I think the best thing about the bridge project, it's basically a $200 million investment in Joliet, and as it stands now, there's no Joliet dollars being put up for this. Theoretically, if there's cost overruns, the city may be on the hook for some of those overruns. But right now, the state of Illinois has pledged $21 million, and the rest of the $200 million is going to be paid privately. So I think it was an excellent business deal for the people of Joliet, and I don't know offhand the last time there was an investment of this size in our city. It's going to be a couple years of construction jobs, and then obviously I think the bridge will help alleviate some of the infrastructure.
When do you think that starts? 2018?
Yeah, I believe so. They're moving forward. As you know, there's engineering studies and other things that need to be done. But from what we've heard, the indications we've gotten, Centerpoint, who's leading the private side, and the state are very serious about getting this done. They both recognize, for different reasons, why it needs to happen.
Let's stay with the trucks for a minute here. This is kind of right up your past alley. Did I not read somewhere where you're going to put some additional officers in truck enforcement?
Yeah, the county really led the way in this a couple years ago, showing what can be done, and our police department has definitely caught up. We have officers that have been trained and are out there enforcing basically the overweight laws for trucks and keeping them off of roads where they don't belong. We get a lot of complaints from people who live in the area about trucks being on roads they're not supposed to be on. It's obviously a danger to everybody around them, and they tear up the roads because they weren't built to handle that type of weight. So it's definitely it's a source of revenue for the city, and I think the revenue is going to go up significantly. But more importantly, we want to see compliance. These people that are coming into our city to do commerce certainly have to follow the rules and respect the people of Joliet.
The mentioned that the 20th will be budget day at the city council, city of Joliet. Will we see? Well, there's a couple of questions. Are we going to see any increases in taxes in
No.
2017?
No, the real estate levy was being increased, but it won't result in an increase to the actual tax bill. Other than that, there were no tax increases happening in Joliet. It is good news. And the city has been, we're going to project a deficit again going into next year, but the last few years we've projected deficits and we've come out on the right side. Yeah. So, knock on wood, the city's been, it's been doing well financially. Credit to Jim Hawk, Jim Gadati, Steve Jones, and the city council. I think everyone's working together well to make that happen.
There have been, I know that Councilman Hugg mentions this almost every meeting, but any additional police officers, excuse me, additional police officers, public works folks, you talked about the snow plows. Well, these guys aren't plowing snow in July. These people are using other areas.
Right.
What about public? Well, I guess public service would be my main question, and the police. Any increase in the employment there?
Nothing significantly. I will say that obviously we want to hire more people and get those numbers up, and they need to come up in those two areas. Also, though, after 2008, the city did hit some hard financial times. We didn't make a lot of capital investments. So we have aging fleet of squad cars, ambulances, snowplows. So some of the money recently, when we saw a windfall coming in last year, we did reinvest in significant pieces of equipment. I know there's one new snowplow being purchased in the budget. But again, we've been very conservative with what's happened in Springfield and the uncertainty. If you remember, 6 months ago, there was a real fear that the state was not going to give Joliet or any municipality its local sales tax, which would have caused a real crisis across the state at the local level. So we're being conservative, not knowing exactly what's going to happen in Springfield, kind of preparing for the worst. But when we did realize that there was a windfall, when we got our state tax last year, we immediately went back and reinvested in some of the capital expenditures that we needed at the city, and I think we're still looking to do that, move forward, as well as not just replace people, but get the staffing levels back.
Yeah. I always go back to that. I don't know why I do this, but I-80 and I-55, I'm just stuck on that project that looked so phenomenal about 3-4 years ago, and it's been delayed. Some sort of super shopping center there at the crossroads of Mid-America. Is there still thought about that? Is there still some thinking going on?
Yeah, if a year ago a new developer came in, purchased the property, they're moving forward, I can tell you that I'm actually going downtown tomorrow with city staff regarding this. So there haven't been announcements made yet, and I'm pretty sure there's been non-disclosure agreements signed. But the city council has seen what's being planned for out there, and we're all really thrilled about it. And I would hope before our next interview that this is made public, what the plans are.
You're probably going to kill me for bringing that up. I told Mike Brick at the board meeting this morning when he was talking about events of 2017, and he mentioned one event that you and I had talked about, but wasn't publicly yet kind of confirmed. And so I said, Mike Brick, who's a great guy at the Joliet Historical Museum, now I'm going to kill you now. I told everybody about this. You were at the Center of Economic, Will County Center of Economic Development report breakfast. John Grueling provided some phenomenal information along with the president of the Illinois Chamber and Fullerton, I believe his name was, the head of the Amazon
Yes.
North American Engineering. Really, I mean, if you were at that breakfast, you would have been very proud of Will County, Joliet, of all the things we've got going. And maybe this is the time of the year because of the Christmas spirit, the holiday spirit, you want to pump yourself up. You want to be happy and excited about Joliet and Will County. Here's what I'll do. We're going to show you, in fact, I'll do it right now, because we don't have all those facts right in front of us, but you have it. I'm going to show you some square footage. We're going to show you some new buildings that have come into Will County in 2016, and jobs. And then while that's on there, Mayor, then I would like to just ask you, do you think Joliet, Will County is a good place to get a job?
It is these days. There's been several job fairs. Actually, not just the companies that have come into the South, but mainstays in Joliet like Harrah's are having difficulty filling their positions. And I know recently they did a job fair. The Chamber of Commerce has done a couple job fairs. So really, I thank you for letting me use this format. I keep trying to tell people when I speak, and if you know people are looking for work, there are jobs available here in Joliet. That, you know, obviously when you go to the South with the logistic companies, there's different levels. But we've really tried to impress on the companies that were coming in recently that we weren't looking for part-time, low-tier jobs and nothing else. Obviously, there's always going to be different levels, but we've impressed on these companies that we want more for our citizens. And I know Amazon's a great example. With the wages they pay, and they do pay living wage, but they also are paying insurance. They're doing matching 401k contributions, so there's benefits that are coming with these jobs. And there's, I think both local colleges have done a great job catching up with this. The University of St. Francis and Joliet Junior College now offer programs in logistics for careers in logistics. So it is an exciting time. I don't know of anywhere else in the state of Illinois that can brag about the development and the growth that we have here in Will County. And when you talk about Will County, I was at that breakfast too. The bulk of it is happening in Joliet.
Yeah. Go back to Amazon for just a moment. They have a new program which Bezos, who's the head and the Mr. Amazon, has a new program out where, and it's offered to the employees at Amazon at the Joliet site as well. I think they spent $200 and some thousand on this classroom.
Right.
It's a high-tech classroom. So if they want to take classes, community college classes, they'll pay for it, and it's right there on site. And there's a whole selection of courses that they can take, and the books and everything else, tuition, all paid for by Amazon. And that's a program that the president of the Illinois Chamber was saying is something that more and more of these companies should be doing and probably will be doing.
Right.
You know, ongoing education, because, you know, it was a lot of controversy about, you know, the impact of immigrants taking jobs away and all this kind of stuff. Well, that may be one viewpoint, but the other viewpoint is that in the future it's robotics. And if, you know, the days of just the I Love Lucy thing, you know, putting the stuff on the assembly line. Yeah, there are assembly lines, but they're not like that anymore.
Right. You
have to have an education, and so take advantage of that. But great place for jobs with Amazon and IKEA and UPS, and I think Amazon said they've got at least 2,000 full-time jobs, and of course, right now they got a lot of extra people working there too. Right. Communication. Yeah, I'm going to show this one. This is the summer one, but the fall, winter one's coming up. But I'll show you the summer one right now. And that's the newsletter. Really a nice, classy, glossy piece that the city has. We all get in the mail. And I'm going to congratulate you. That's a great piece. Very nice.
Thank you. In all fairness, the council, it was a council idea, and actually we voted on this when Mayor Girani was still in office. I think the first newsletter came out after my election, but it is, I heard nothing but great things from the Joliet residents, and our staff does a great job putting it together and really getting information in people's hands. There's a lot happening in Joliet, and I think sometimes it's easy to miss everything that's going on.
Yeah, and the Joliet website's right there in front of you right now also. So that's somewhat of an interactive website as well. You know, if you see a pothole or a tree falling down or whatever, I think you can go on there.
Right.
And it's interactive, so that you can get things done. We could go on for another half hour or so, but my voice won't last that long. And the mayor has, I know, a meeting right after this, and another meeting right after that, and a full evening of schedule. So I would say one more question, and then I'll let you talk to the folks about your Christmas, your holiday message. But what does 2017 look like? I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, are we at 8, 9, 7, 6, 5?
Oh, we're at 10.
We're at 10. All right.
I think 2017 is going to be exciting. I think some of the big things that have begun in the last year and a half are going to progress. The Holboat Road Bridge, the courthouse downtown, the train station. We talked about the project at 80 and 55. So I think you're going to see the city continue. And these are major projects that are happening. I don't think they're going to be completed in the next year, but I think you're going to see real progress or actual construction being done to get us to where we want to be. So I look forward, obviously, to working with the council for another year. I think it's been a really good city council. It's a good working relationship. There's been a lot of discourse, but I think that's good. So I think you have different personalities, but I think together we're doing a good job with the city, and I'm really optimistic about the upcoming year.
Good. A little holiday message?
Yeah, just happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to all Joliet residents. If you're traveling, please be safe, and just Merry Christmas to everyone. And then, especially at this time of the year, I think it's common that people think of those that are less fortunate. Again, we have a very giving community, but not to lecture anyone, but it's something to keep in mind. The holiday season, there are people that are less fortunate, and to keep them in mind.
Good.
Thank you. Hope you feel better. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you.